Chagnon, and my story tonight is going to be about squirrels. Several years ago, up at our campsite in Pottersville, when we opened our camper in the spring, we discovered there were red squirrels that had gotten into the walls of our camper. Well, we really had a problem getting them out, but finally when they did get out, we blocked up the hole that we figured they'd gotten into. However, there were still a lot of red squirrels that year at the campground. Everybody was having trouble with them. So I did a little research online, and I sent for this contraption called a rat zapper. So needless to say, many squirrels that summer met their demise in our campground. But at least I'll say that mine was the least painful way. Some people were shooting them with BB guns, and some people were catching them in rat traps. Mine electrocuted them instantly. So their life was over. And anyways, because of that, I've been laughed at, and we've had a lot of good times about my squirrel antics. I've received a candle holder with squirrel on the side of it, little knick-knack squirrels, emails with squirrel jokes, YouTube videos about squirrels. So I really kind of gotten used to that. But fast forward a few years, and my sister and her husband were heading for Las Vegas, not to gamble, to take care of my brother who was going to have surgery. They were going to be gone for a while, so they employed my younger sister Bridget and myself to guard the house, feed the cat, make sure the snow got shoveled if there was any. And I say they employed us because they did pay us with candy. We ate all their Christmas candy, and when that was gone, I let Marge know, and she shipped us a box of chocolates from Las Vegas. So I thought we did pretty well. So I took my job pretty seriously since we'd gotten paid for it. And this one day, it was my turn to go over and feed the cat and check on the house. I let myself in, and when I got into between the living room and the kitchen, I noticed things were in disarray in the kitchen. There was papers on the floor. The curtains were on the floor. And I thought, somebody's broken in. So my knees started shaking. But I looked around, and I see over towards the bay window in the front of the house, there was a mat that the cat slept on, was kind of hanging onto the floor. And then all of a sudden in the kitchen, I heard a noise. And on the back of the kitchen chair, there sat a squirrel. Well, I stared at him, and he stared at me, and I think both of our hearts started racing. I was afraid, and he was afraid. And the next thing you know, he jumped off that chair and scooted across the kitchen floor and down into the basement. So what am I going to do now? How am I going to get this squirrel out of the house? I can't leave it here. So I moved to the front door because the first thing I'm going to do is protect myself. And I grabbed the snow shovel. So flipped it upside down and kind of went across the kitchen nonchalantly with the shovel in front of my face, headed for the basement. I shut the cellar door behind me so the rodent couldn't get back up into the house, opened the outside door so he could get outside the house, and proceeded down to the basement. Well, when I got to the bottom of the basement steps, I heard a noise over in the far right-hand corner of the basement, so now I knew where he was. Well, I thought, I've got to get past this squirrel in order to get him to go up those stairs and out that door. And I thought, this shovel isn't going to do it. I got to protect myself a little more. So picked up the laundry basket now, put it over my head, and proceeded down the side of the cellar toward that squirrel. Well, now he had jumped up behind the ductwork. And he's meowing like a cat. I always thought, well, possibly, has he got the cat up there with him? Because that's what it sounded like. It didn't sound like a squirrel. So I thought, well, okay, what am I going to use for a weapon? So I looked around, and in the corner of the cellar, I found a piece of molding. I figured that, good long stick. And then I saw one of those plastic toboggans that the kids slide on in the winter, just my height. hanging on the wall. And I took down that, and now I was ready for battle. I had that sled in front of me and the stick in this hand, and I banged on the ductwork, banged on it as hard as I could. I yelled at that thing. I barked at it. I pretended I was a cat. I screamed at it, and that thing didn't move. Just stayed up there meowing at me. So finally, I took the stick, and I stuck it up behind the ductwork. And I felt it hit something soft, so I knew that I, got my mark. But he didn't come down. So I jabbed him again. He still didn't come down. Well, the third time I gave him a good jab, and down he jumped, as fast as he could go, over this side of the basement, over that side, and up the stairs and out the door. Well, I didn't know how he got in, but I knew he was out, so I ran upstairs, shut the door, making sure that he couldn't get back in, headed for the living room to see what was going on in the bay window where I saw the rug hanging off the windowsill. Very carefully pulled the curtains aside because I thought maybe there's another squirrel there, but there wasn't. But that poor squirrel had spent a good share of his time trying to scratch his way out around their windows. There were claw marks and holes in the windowsill and little pieces of wood everywhere. And I thought, oh my goodness, what a mess. Can't leave it for Marge. Don't know when she's coming home. So I called Bridget and told her what had happened, and we kind of laughed about it, and we decided we wouldn't tell Marge over the telephone because there wasn't anything she could do about it anyways. We'd wait till she came home. So the next day I went back with varnish and wood filler and a little electric sander and went to work trying to fix the woodwork and the windowsill and got all done and tried to put some varnish on it. Well, that varnish had been on there a long time and I couldn't quite match it. So I went back to the store the next morning and bought some paint that I thought was pretty close to the varnish color and proceeded to go back and sand a little more and paint. Well, it was kind of orange. But, old varnish, it kind of looks orange. And I figured if they didn't open the curtains, they weren't going to see it anyway. So I was safe. So I felt like I really did a good job. They left us in charge, and, we had to do the right thing. Well, it wasn't long after that Marge called me on the phone and said, I saw this neat doormat out here in Las Vegas. I was going to get it for you, but Dick said, too much trouble. It's heavy, and put it in a suitcase. But it was perfect for you. It said, welcome to the nut house. And it had a squirrel on it. So I kind of chuckled because she still didn't know what happened at her house yet. So lo and behold, that squirrel did get in again. But my sister Bridget and her husband took care of it with a have-a-heart trap that time and got rid of it. Took it about a few miles away and let it go. And when Marge and Dick came home, I told them the story on the way home from the airport. And outside their door was a mat that said, welcome to the nut house.